Welcome back to Out of the Park Baseball 26 and the intriguing playthrough of the Baltimore Bee-Holes. As you can see, our team chemistry is quite unhappy. But it seems that only 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, someone out there is happy, and it looks like it's Trevor Stefan. So not everybody is feuding. We are technically in a better position morale-wise than we were about a month ago, which is kind of remarkable. I thought we would be all the way in the crapper by now. But the team is 48 and 44 ever since switching Jorge Mateo to a super utility role and giving both Kyle Isbell and Brenton Doyle full-time playing in the outfield. Things are looking up there. But every time I play this game, I learn something new. Remember the Matt Brash deal? Well, he is having an effect on my team's chemistry, and that is absolutely unintended. I did not know somebody on the injured list could be affecting your team chemistry. And so, Matt Brash, we have got to trade you. In fact, I'm going to sell him. I don't want to profit off of this in any way. Let's go into player trade. And let's go back to Seattle. And I'm going to see if they will buy Matt Brash back for $1. You know what? I'll retain it all. They don't even want him for $1. So here's what we're going to do. I'm not going to retain this. I'm not going to ask anything. Oh, do I have to ask something? Okay, let me go into commissioner mode for this deal. See if I can force this through. Yeah, Seattle's going to offer nothing. I'm going to trade Matt Brash back to them. I did lose like a double or triple A 2-star outfielder. I had a bunch of those. I'm not really worried about that. We'll just take that as kind of a minor penalty for technically cheating. I wasn't aware, though, that that was going to be cheating. So very interesting. And now, with it being July 11th, it is time for the draft. Let's get it on. Chicago White Sox, Colorado Rockies, Miami Marlins, Los Angeles Angels, and the Athletics have the first 5 picks. I'm going to slot this over to the sortable list. It's what I'm familiar with. And I've already removed my filter, but you can still see a lot of my shortlisted players with those bad personalities are right up here at the top. This is quite a strong draft class. I'm not sure if my setting to increase the number of draft rounds affects the first year or not. If so, I'm going to have to be a little careful with that because this is a few too many players available, to be honest. But yeah, we're doing it live. Let's go auto draft for Chicago. And first pick in the draft, no surprise whatsoever. It's Ethan Holiday. He's the first pick in everyone's game. Colorado with the number 2 pick is going to take Jace LaViolette. Not who I'd have chosen. That's really good for me. Although I am picking 24th, so it's going to be a while. But any flub is great. Miami is picking up Kason Cunningham. Pretty reasonable pick, although again, not the strongest. And it looks like the pitchers might be being undervalued. Shortstop JoJo Parker. Not all that strong either. But with a little bit of infield development, that would be fine. That seems like a good pick. And the Athletics, they better make this one count. Xavier Nyans. Pretty nice looking third baseman right there. And somebody I wouldn't have minded picking up. But let's see how many of these picks disappear. I'm going to put on my filter because at this point I don't particularly care about anybody who's not a bad personality. So let's auto draft until round 24. And yeah, as expected, all the top players dropped off. And it is just all pitchers. Look at that. So here's where a little bit of strategy comes in. Noting that they're leaving a lot of pitchers available in the draft. It might be optimal to pick a non-pitcher and then go ahead and wheel a decent pitcher for my 2nd pick. So We do have just enough position players a little further down in the draft that might be okay. But let's take a look at Gage Wood. Hard thrower, power pitcher is fine, reasonable enough stamina, not the greatest hold runners. Fastball, slider, curveball, splitter, that's a pretty decent mix. Gonna have probably good ratings across the board, already 2 stars. So this guy could be on my team maybe late 2026 even, if development goes his way. So very strong, and the demand's only $7 million. Very, very strong case for Gage Wood. Let's take a look at Talon Haley. As you can see, not quite as good, a little bit lower on the control, not quite as hard a thrower. A little better stamina and hold runners is nice. The changeup isn't, like if that changeup were developed to 50 and the curveball were at like 40, 45 or something, and he was just like crazy developed, maybe. But not great. And if I am going to take somebody who's not a pitcher, it's going to be this guy. His catching, borderline. The power's good, but I'm not in love with the rest of his stats, to be honest. This is a guy who, even though he's only a medium development risk, good work ethic is a positive. But with that leadership and the good work ethic, I also think there's a pretty good chance he loses one of these negative traits on the way up my organization. So that's also possibly a consideration. Is he going to become more loyal or get smarter? Probably not. Is he going to become less greedy? Not super likely. But the likelihood of one of those things going away, maybe, maybe there. And he might develop a personality class, because with these downsides, you can still develop a positive personality class. So that is a consideration. But if we don't pick him, we've got to go down into the 2.5-star players. And yeah, this is a decent guy, but he's not a round 1 pick. Let me sort by catchers. And yeah, there are a number of catchers I could pick up, potentially even in round 2. Not him. We're just going to click through all these guys. Okay. Not as bad. No, he's just a worse version of Braden Jaska. A lot of these guys are going to be worse versions of Braden Jaska, to be honest. Whoops. Grant J. Not too impressed. I need one of these 2.5-star guys to have some dynamite defense and at least a couple of decent batting ratings. Yeah, this is not going over so well. Okay. So there really is only one catcher I like in here, and he's borderline. How much do we believe in Henry Davis and our ability to pick up like a Ben Rice or somebody else from another team? Or maybe I'll get a catcher like 3rd or 4th round. Very unlikely, but who knows. Let's go back to Gage Wood. I don't think I can pass this up. I don't think I can afford to pass this up. It's a great deal at $7 million. He's already very well developed. I mean, that splitter's already at 45. The slider at 45 are his worst pitches, and they both have a ton of room to grow. And we can work on him in the off season, get that either the control or movement as we please. Is going to be Gage Wood. And that is our first pick. Recommended slot is 4.2. I don't care. That is a totally fine demand. And let's go ahead and auto pick until round 2. And, the decision might have just been made for us. There's only 3 3-star players left. Marcos Paz is a player I pick up in most of my saves. Now, he has improved his personality, it seems. So that is interesting. So I can't even pick him, so I am just going to remove him from my short list because he no longer qualifies. Take one more look at Braden Jaska and look at the 2.5-star guys really quick. Chris Arroyo, not going to be a two-way player. It is nice that he has the leader trait, but his batting just isn't strong enough. Let's look at batting potential. So who are my high contact guys? This is something I always like to do. Let's check out Mr. Emilio here. He would be fine a little further down in the draft. Ethan Kloss I've seen before. Not super strong in this save. Bruin Agbayani? Potential utility man, but again, not really what we're looking for. Let's see. Zach York looks like he might be the last player who's green in contact, green in power potential. And he can't really play first base. Let's go ahead and sort by power. Okay, Max Bellew. Let's see what his defense is like. You know, this is a surprisingly strong 2.5-star player. He is probably not going to stay on the board very long. This is a very strong consideration. And I think really he's just competing with Braden Jaska. I think the first pick is going to be between these two guys. Little quick look at Lucas Steele again. Yeah, just a slightly worse version of Braden Jaska. Okay. Boy, what a tough call. Okay, there is a difference between them, so let's examine that. Braden Jaska is 18 years old. He is completely undeveloped except for the one thing that you do like to see in a younger player, which is that power. So that's nice. He's a medium development risk. My scouting is very high. Can't run, but that's not necessary for a catcher. This is a strong pick, but let's check out how Max Bellew's looking at age 21. He's got his power, it's on the way. He can't really steal bases either. That avoid Ks with a combination of the low I, he's got to have something else going for him. And so what is that? Potential 65 power, 55 gap, and 50 contact makes him very borderline to me for a second round pick. The defense is probably going, well, it doesn't always get better, but I always usually count on like 60 to 65 for the left field and 55 to 60 for right field. I do count on like one or two of these going up a pip or two. But he is already 21 years old, so that may be what he's stuck with. All right, I've talked myself into it. We're going with Braden Jaska. And I don't even know what he wants. He wants $150,000. Love it. On to the next round. And yeah, that outfielder's gone. So let's go back to the default. And we're down to our 2.5-star guys. So let's see who can play some defense. Fielding ratings. Just to check. You know what? When I do fielding ratings, I also like to throw in the overall and potential. And what did we think about Easton Carmichael? Did I even notice him? I might have just absentmindedly scrolled past. Yeah, that's a catcher with some defense, so let's keep an eye on Easton Carmichael. Maybe pick him up a little later. Infield range. So we've got one guy at 65 range, and he's 60s across the board. Let's see if he has any sort of bat. Okay. Jacob Kendall. This is an interesting pick. Let's check our outfield range. Okay, Brandon Logan he's got a little bit of development at 18. Very good sign. 2.5-star potential, but sometimes rangy outfielders with 2.5-star potential end up being very, very good. And he is just coming up a little short on that eye. I don't trust the development here. So this is not, to me, a third pick. Let's go down to the guys who are 65 in range and also 2.5 stars. Logan Braunschweig, interesting name. He can play a little center. He does suffer from not quite a good enough bat-itis. Very close, though. Let's go with Isaiah Jackson. Now, sometimes, okay, so he's got low contact. If the avoid Ks was better, he would be a serious consideration, because this kind of profile that kind of steps down to the right, sometimes very good. He doesn't have quite a good enough version of that, and he does have that low work ethic. Brock Kettleson. He also pitches a little, but that's okay. Very good outfield ratings. Okay. So he almost has what I'm looking for. In fact, this is a very strong contender. It is counting on his avoid Ks or his eye to get to 50 and for the other stat to get to 45 or better. I like the BABIP. I like the contact and the gap power combined. This is a very good backup outfield prospect. And if he catches lightning, this is somebody you definitely want in your organization. Brock Kettleson. Interesting. Darian Pendergrass. Okay, we're going to have to make a comparison between these two immediately because they're both quite strong. This is what I mean by those rangy 2.5-star outfielders. Okay, so Darian Pendergrass is older. He's more developed. This guy's only 17. No wonder he's not developed at all yet. So there's a big difference over here in the base running ability. He's going to strike out a lot less, maybe have a lower BABIP, but a better eye. And no power. If you just add up the numbers with no context, this is a plus 20 on the way, and this is a, let's see, a plus 35 by comparison. It does depend on the development. So Brock Kettleson, let's take a look at the bad parts of their personality. Okay, so Pendergrass is greedy and maladaptive. We don't need him to be particularly adaptable because he is already well adapted to his role. Let's find Mr. Brock. And Brock's got that high work ethic. He's got the low baseball IQ, but again, his ratings are already developed enough in the field. I'm not particularly worried about that baseball IQ if it does indeed affect development in the field. Not going to be a problem. A little disloyal, which is, if you're going to have a bad trait, disloyal is one of the kind of easier ones to work around, and he's got that high work ethic. So better chance of reaching the potential. Boy, this is such a close call. So I'm going to just very slightly give the nod to Brock Kettleson, even though Darian Pendergrass is a more sure thing. So if we're going to go with an outfielder, it's going to be Brock Kettleson. Let's go back to infield range really quick. Yeah, Jacob Kindle. A shortstop's more valuable than a center fielder, a little harder to get in this game. He does have a low work ethic. Medium development risk, can't really run a base. I mean, what is his ceiling, his realistic ceiling, if he doesn't catch like a hot TCR? The other player can actually, even with no real TCR, he can be like a quad A player and knocking on the door of the majors. Jacob Kindle with no TCR, this is going to be like just a triple A player. All right, I've made up my mind. We are going to go with the rangy and interesting Brock Kettleson, and we're going to ignore this pitching crud. I do wish he was a little quicker on the bases, but he's perfectly fine there. Okay, round 3. He's demanding 290, which is cool. Brock Kettleson, welcome aboard. And we're going to auto-draft to round 4. I'm going to take you through the first 5 picks. Okay. How is Brandon Logan again? Not quite the profile I'm looking for. That guy is just very unlikely to make the majors. So let's go back to batting potential just to see. I don't know if I looked at Emilio Barreras. Fine. Maybe not a 4th round pick, but he's okay. Anybody with a lot of power and reasonable contact? No. All right, let's go back to the pitchers. And let's just show starters. Zane Adams. Yeah, not quite strong enough. Just overall, you can tell he doesn't have the velocity. He does. Sometimes these long profiles, these sort of long, narrow profiles, are just surprisingly good. And he does have some development on his changeup, which I always look for. Brandon Arvidsson. Kind of similar, but he has 1 less pitch. Tyler Baird. Okay, a little more robust, but he's only a 3-pitch guy. He doesn't pitch fast. He's not like a ground baller. Tucker Biven. I seem to remember Tucker Biven being like a 6th round kind of guy. Yeah, fly ball pitcher. Nothing stands out about his velocity. Nothing super stands out about any of his stats. Tanner, Bochabello. He's a ground baller, but he doesn't throw hard. He's already 22. No, thank you. We can do better. Cody Bowker, 21. He throws a little bit harder. What does he have going for him? He's got that control. He's got some stuff potential. Very slight development on the changeup. I'm not sold on Cody Bowker. Let's look at Mark Brissy. Man, he looked like he just got out of prison. Yeah, doesn't throw hard. This is becoming a thing. Guys who don't throw hard. And I don't like guys who only have 3 pitches. At least taking them in the money rounds. Let's check out Noah Edders. Yeah, another solid guy. There's just a lot of decent pitchers here. But there isn't anyone who really gets me excited. Boy, there are still a lot of 2.5-star guys, so a lot to get through. Nothing there. How about Matthew Fisher? Okay. So he's got something a little more that stands out a little more. Slightly better velocity. Hold runners is okay. I'd like either a little more stamina or hold runners here. Movement 50, control 45 are his caps. And he does only have the 3 pitches, even though 1 is potentially a great pitch. Not quite what I'm looking for. I think we can do just a little better. How bad is it? Oh, he's Tommy John. Get out. Run, Tommy John alert. Griffin Huggas, I guess. All right. Control's a little short here. Luke LaCourse. Yeah. Boy, these are some strange pitchers. Okay, here we have somebody developed, so let's take a little closer look. 5 pitches. He's got the tall, skinny profile. He's not tall. He's 6'1", but I mean his profile itself. I have been underestimating this profile for years now. He's going to top out around 94 potentially. Movement and control both at 50. Not bad. He might be the best pitcher we've seen so far. I may be completely smoking crack on that, but let's check out some more guys. Jack Lafram, kind of similar, only a little bit weaker. What kind of injury is this? Another TJ? Gosh, guys, calm down. Oh, isn't this weird? So he must have just learned the cutter. All that does is help. Having a fifth pitch that's very low rated, to the best of my understanding, does help a player anyway. It's not going to take away from them to have that low rating. Good stamina, good hold runners. He's sort of got the tall, skinny profile plus because he's got a developed curveball and changeup. 21 years old. But that velo, we can't really work with that. Mason Morris. Come on, we're going to find somebody. Okay, I love this. Ground baller, 95 miles an hour. Movement at 55 might make up for that control at 45. He's got some pretty good development. His weaknesses are that he only has 3 pitches and his stamina is not incredible. Mason Morris might be the strongest so far. Let's look at Miles Patton. There's just a few more to get through. I think I've seen better. David Perez. Another interesting type of profile. High velo, a couple of nasty potential pitches. Stuff rating's probably going to only grow, but he does suffer from the problem of having a twin weakness in movement and control, and therefore he is not this high of a pick. Okay, we've got an 18-year-old who throws 95 miles an hour already. Good stamina, good hold runners. His negative trait is pretty bad, the work ethic. There's going to be some downside. So, stuff at 45. Let's see, movement 55, control 50. It is only a 3-pitch mix. It has begun to develop at age 18, which is fine. He's only a medium development risk. So these are the sort of considerations. Slider, sinker, splitter. I am racking my brain and I cannot remember if that is a good mix. I get the feeling it's not. The slider's great. Was that this guy? Yeah. So Brandon Shannon. Ooh, I love this name. Zion not Theophilus, Theophilus. Okay. 55 control, 45 movement. Not great. How's the development at age 19? Good on the fastball and slider. He's a little capped on his curveball and changeup. A little capped on his stamina and hold runners. Gosh. All these guys are just almost there. And I guess that is the definition of a 2.5-star potential player. So we have a couple 18-year-olds coming up with some development. Yeah, if you're going to have low velo, I need you to have more pitches, or I need you to have something remarkable about you, especially if you've only got 40 control. That's just not going to work. Caleb Wing. Fastball, curveball, changeup. Just your very standard 3 pitches. Movement 50, control 55. Slight development on the fastball. Nothing on the changeup yet. And that's it. That is all of my 2.5-star pitchers. So let me remind myself of the guys that I've already been eyeballing. I probably wasn't giving Zane Adams quite enough credit because the guys that came after him weren't quite as strong. And we're talking control 60, but I don't like these movement stats. This is a tough one. Tyler Baird looks, I guess, just solid. A small amount of development, which is about right for an 18-year-old. Reasonable, kind of low velocity, but reasonable, good stamina. This one's going to take some thinking. I'm going to go offline here for just a sec and give it some more thought. All right, and after way too much hemming and hawing about a very minor decision, I decided to throw some objectivity into the mix. I decided they have to have at least 50 movement and control potential. They have to have 4 pitches, and they have to throw around the mid-90s. And when I plugged in all those criteria, two guys popped out. They're both 21 years old, Tucker Biven and Drew Lafferty. And here they are side by side. The development up here actually does matter a little bit. They're basically dead tied in all this, because this slightly lower stuff potential it's kind of made up for by the extra pitch. In fact, this isn't a good way to show their pitches. Just let me back out of this screen. So Tucker Biven, 4 solid pitches. He's probably going to throw up to 95. Don't love that he's a fly baller, but it's not a deal breaker. 40 stamina is the first thing I'm going to call a knock against him. The second slight knock against him is that he's 21 years old, and he's just a hair shy on development. He does have that 50 movement and control in the cards, but yeah, those are his downsides. And Drew Lafferty, he's got an extra pitch. His pitches are not quite as strong. I think that's about a wash. He's got slightly better stamina and slightly lower velocity. And like I said, the fact that his stuff is going to potentially be a little lower is kind of masked by the extra pitches. He is 21 years old and 333 days. Let me see exactly how old Tucker Biven is. Okay, they're a few months apart. Let's look at the traits. He doesn't have anything that's going to really hurt his development over here, and he's a good fielding pitcher, so that's nice. So let's see what Biven's bad traits are. Also, his traits are not going to hurt him. He's going to have tremendous defense, it looks like. I'm going to give the nod, just barely, to Drew Lafferty. Gosh, that's a close call. You could certainly go either way. He only won 75K. Beautiful. Okay, 4th round Drew Lafferty and auto draft. Let's just look at everybody. In fact, let me remind myself of what I've picked up. We got starting pitcher Gage Wood in round 1. We got catcher Braden Jaska in round 2. In round 3, we picked up center fielder Brock Kettleson. And in round 4, we picked up starting pitcher Drew Lafferty. Is Tucker Biven still available? Hold on. I didn't see his name get picked. Tucker Biven is still out there. Very interesting. So I think we already have a decent choice for our next pick. But let's check out the center fielders again. Yeah, Brandon Logan didn't have the profile I was exactly looking for. This might be a time to pick up a utility man. Normally I wouldn't do this so early in the draft. What are your outfield ratings, Mr. Kloss? Ooh, good. Okay. So I did say this guy was kind of destined to be a AAA player, I think. However, he's got so much utility. Yeah, that's not really what we're looking for in round 5. Look at him again. Okay, on second thought, Mr. Bruin is not who I want. I love this name too, Ethan Kloss. I don't know why it's a good name. Cody Miller, what were you like? Not so bad. And Tracer Lopez is a little weak. And Antonio Jimenez. Ooh, wait a minute. Okay, let's compare Antonio Jimenez and Ethan Kloss. So I think this is the direction we're going. So age difference, development difference, that is about what you would expect. If we're looking at batting potential, I'm not looking for power out of like a utility player. Not super worried about that. The speed is nice over here, but it's also not going to translate to too many more stolen bases than Mr. Ethan. So let's look at the defense. So this is a third base profile. If he gets a lot of help, it's potentially a shortstop profile, and this is a kind of a bad right fielder profile, whereas this is just a solid left field profile. That range is going to help with potential utility. All right, we're going to go Ethan Kloss, and we are going to pray to the TCR gods. He's got the low work ethic and the low baseball IQ, so odds are stacked against him, but you know what? Let's go ahead and meet that $650,000 demand. And those are my 5 rounds. A catcher, an infielder, some pitching. We're looking all right. So let me go finish this draft up, and it's been going on long enough. I am going to call this a part. This one did run a little long. But thanks again for joining me. So long and take care.